Thank you so much to our panelists. And indeed, we are immediately heading into the knockouts in as early as day number 3. Welcome to the Caster's Desk. My name is Brigida. And for the first time, we will be together with Chantel to bring you game number 1 between Navi and Gaimin Gladiators. What are your thoughts on this sudden last pick Guinevere?
In all honesty, I was actually surprised to see a Guinevere for a Navi PH, but you know what? We're in it for it because GG played really well in our first match today. Just imagine the progress of this team being able to beat Navi MY, who was actually the winners during their first match for the whole MWI tournament. So I kind of feel like for Navi PH, they're just bringing out all the cheesy strap that they have, because at the end of the day, whichever team that can surprise the team, the other team wins the match.
I agree. It feels like Navi PH, they also fully acknowledge how Gaimin Gladiators have seemingly gained a boost in terms of performance heading into this day, fully respecting that they do have to bring in something different, you know. And even our panelists, even I personally thought it would indeed be the Hilda to at least disrupt and attempt to kind of bother the Lancelot, but it's not going to be the case. So now they can be a little more playful in terms of the surprises. But this is something you expect, the matchup of the EXP.
And of course, now that we see the EXP laners that are more on somehow very different in terms of skill set, we have Arlott versus CC, and we know CC is really more on diving on the back lanes. We have the Arlott that has the crowd control, so you have supplementary crowd control also with the Guinevere, who is, by the way, using the concussive blast. So just imagine the potential kill just from the Virtus.pro alone, or even against the squishy players of a Gaimin Gladiators. But for GG and Navi PH, I really like that we somehow see a slower pace in terms of the early game, because they know that they should respect each and every other player with the capacity of the heroes that they have. But as we can see, there is a bit of delay with the start of this objective, but we could see a play from Navi PH.
There goes the first combo we'll be seeing in this game. First blood goes into Navi PH. Appraiser's Wrath does not connect. Sayori, oh, look at that beautiful AOG coming in from Ashley. 3 members get taken out from Navi PH. It's only not Ayanami left alone.
Oh wow, Gaimin Gladiators having the upper hand in terms of the counter engage. All along I thought it was Navi PH winning that team fight, but there was a nice AOG for Ashley, and we could see right now Gaimin Gladiators just having the lead in this game. It's not that big of a lead, but if we look at the instant replay, just look at that. So we have the kill against Arya, but then we have the counter engage with the AOG, hitting 3 players from Navi PH and eventually killing some more from Navi.
Honestly, I thought the combination was so good. It was the energy eruption into the spatial migration. So it could have been an immediate pick-off for Navi PH, and I wouldn't say it was a matter of whether or not their damage was enough. It was Gaimin Gladiators had the immediate response. It was ready to answer right back, which was again the AOG. And that was just one of the many combinations we might see from Navi PH. There's also the Fury of the Phoenix into the spatial migration. But if Gaimin Gladiators always are ready to respond like that, this is going to be difficult.
Yeah, and will we actually see the full potential, or Gaimin Gladiators just maximizing the damage that the Lancelot has? So we saw the difference in terms of the junglers on longer team fights. And then now that you've mentioned about the Fury of Phoenix, the Final Slash, and even the energy eruption, and it means to say that for Navi PH, it is somehow skill dependent. So it means that somehow all those skills should hit first, or at the proper target for them to be able to win a team fight. So Gaimin Gladiators just sustaining this lead around 500, 800 is already an advantage for them. So Navi PH is being pushed back on majority of the lanes, and we don't usually see it specifically on a Shinowan's lane.
Path of Execution already used, but there goes a Final Slash to answer right back. They will not be proceeding with this 1v1 just yet, but I agree. It seems like there are so many requirements for Navi PH and for their lineup to work. But hold on, down bottom! Not Ayanami. Fortunately has the flicker. So she was able to get away, and now Keishi, they're the ones holding the objective, but Nicolette might be able to make it. Oh, Amore gets bursted down, forces out the flicker from her. Fury of the Phoenix will be enough to stop Sayori, and now there goes the AOG once more. Look at the follow-up damage from Gaimin Gladiators. They take out Keishi and not Ayanami. She puts herself in a very difficult position. Gets taken down by Sayori as well, and Aria. They might not let Mirai go, but she has the flicker, but it's another win for Gaimin Gladiators.
Oh wow, Gaimin Gladiators, just the layering of skills is there. And I gotta say for Navi PH, I think they're caught off guard. If I remember correctly, not Ayanami used the final slash at the bottom lane as a warning. As a warning for Nicolette that whatever happens, I will set up a play against you. But looking at the instant replay, it's just Gaimin Gladiators with the layering of skills. And again, another nice AOG, and the usage of the Revitalize was really on point as to why Gaimin Gladiators was able to deal that damage against the rest of the players of Navi PH. And imagine 2.9k gold lead against a team that has the defending champions from MWI 2024. And it feels like for Navi PH, the initiation is just all over the place. We even saw not Ayanami diving, even though there were no players with her. But we see a Quem AOG for Gate GG.
Okay, they tried to fully commit on the spatial migration. They caught Aria, but she still gets to survive somehow. There's the regen as well. So even that attempt, it was not successful for Navi PH.
I think like for Navi PH, the real struggle here also is most of the time we see them have the edge on the latter portions of the game as long as the Shinoa has the farm. But if we look at the map right now, I think it is difficult for Shinoa now to have the lead or potentially get those items because they are forced to group up like a 5v5 composition, even formation for Gaimin Gladiators. They're just continuously bringing pressure in all lanes, and I gotta believe that this is not the usual Gaimin Gladiators and not the usual Navi PH that we see. It feels like Gaimin Gladiators just woke up at the right side of the bed.
there has been so much preparation, I feel, for this game, for Gaimin Gladiators. It seems like they really know how to answer back to Navi PH. They kind of like anticipated majority of their playstyle, and even that attempt from Navi PH gets denied just because of how alert Nicolette is in terms of using this Lancelot. They're trying to hold on to this turret. Arya gets to be the target of the final slash, but they won't have enough damage just yet. And this is all mere distraction because Nicolette, look at what she's doing.
Yeah, imagine, right? It's just they're pushing back a Navi PH, and I gotta say, for Ashley, she's doing a fantastic job. Not just from the AOGs, but also from the Unbreakables, just taunting the players of Navi PH. So there's no potential threat yet from Navi PH. That's why Gaimin Gladiators just pushing and even taking all the resources, and you don't really want that to happen if you have the Irithel, you even have the Fredrin. Just look at the lead. You have 6k for Granger, for Panda, and Shinoa is at 5.1k.
Honestly, to add to all of these problems, we forgot to look at the Purify spells in Gaimin Gladiators. So even if they do have like multiple combinations to pull off against their members, the best targets have Purify. So it's not gonna be easy either.
I think now for Navi PH, they need someone to at least force those Purifies and then get another layer of crowd control for just them to be able to secure decent or probably clean initiation against Gaimin Gladiators. But again, it's just a lot of pressure from GG top lane, middle lane, and even on the farm area of a Navi PH. And if you look at the hero composition of Navi PH, mobility is a bit of an issue as compared to GG's. So again, in terms of goal difference, you have 2.1k for the junglers. And even Mirai, even though she's able to hit some of those skills against the GG, it's of course not a good idea to go straight into the Virtus.pro. So the team right now that really has the upper hand is GG, because we have another defense item from Arya. And speaking of Arya, she has the Vengeance. So just imagine how she's able to sustain. Wait.
Oh, that was committed onto Panda, but will Mirai have enough damage to take her down alone in the backlines? Nicolette making work onto Keishi and the other members. Keishi is the first to fall, and still they're not able to take down Panda One, even though there was the flicker final slash.
Panda One is the one taking that one kill against Navi PH and 7-1. Just imagine, the momentum is really here for Gaimin Gladiators. It projected, the momentum from match 1 projected up until this game. They're now starting to take this Lord. I don't think Navi PH has the kit and resource to eventually contest this one. So I feel like for this, you have 70 seconds and even 80 seconds for the flicker. It's gonna be really hard for Navi PH to somehow force a team fight or initiation, or I don't think it's even an option for them. So Gaimin Gladiators 7.2k gold lead, and Nicolette is just playing really well, even though it's just 6 assists, right? No kills, but 6 assists out of 7 kills for GG is something.
Yeah, and it's scary to think that they're both like, their lineups specialize in melee, like they want to fight up close, they want to close into their targets. But the team who gets to make use of their lineup a lot more better is clearly Gaimin Gladiators, because they have certain timings, they have skills that they can save for later, and that eventually causes Navi PH to clearly lose out on the entire team fight. Now they are about to take out all of the holy shields from their turret. Oh wait, look at Nicolette!
Just confident, diving in front of the players of Navi PH. Now we have the Lord, it's just the first Lord. It's easy for Navi PH to defend this one out, but we have another layer of pressure in the minion waves that will flow for GG. So again, it's all about a hit or miss type of initiation for Navi PH. But when they hit, they have to make sure that they will capitalize on that. Top lane again. Continuous pressure. We've been reiterating on that for GG. Oh, bottom lane.
And they actually take out Nicolette. Oh, there's the OG again, but somehow not Ayanami gets punished for that attempt. It's a -1 for Navi PH, and Gaimin Gladiators, they must be very happy with that. All holy shields get taken out. They also get a pick-up, and with 3 simultaneous waves coming in, there's a very high chance they might actually commit to something. Sayori, definitely, she will be starting the fight, but they just go for the turret for now. Nicolette again and again. This is so much pressure if you're Navi PH.
Yeah, and the pressure is not just about pushing the turret. It's a pressure that there's a threat anytime. There's a threat that anytime there is a player from Gaimin Gladiators that would actually dive. And it's not just Nicolette, because we also have Arya, you also have Ashley, and Sayori, by the way, with the usage of the IMUs. I think Navi PH is struggling somehow to go for the counter engage. Just look at the damage dealt for Panda One, 41,000, and the next 2 players are still from Gaimin Gladiators.
Sayori is on a 404, and
Perfect KDA.
it's perfect KDA. And I think for the past few minutes, she's been getting the Fury of the Phoenix.
Yep.
So imagine, even if it's not the curtain call and the AOG committed committed right after each other, it can be the Fury of the Phoenix and the AOG. So that's a lot more problems for Navi PH, because wherever they are, even for the backlines, it's gonna be crucial for them to keep themselves alive. Because if they get to pull off that combo successfully, then the follow-up, it's gonna be Nicolette for sure. She's just gonna dash through everyone and reach the backlines.
Yeah, a lot has been said for Gaimin Gladiators, but for Navi PH, let's see how they will play fair against this GG. We have Mirai and Shino at the back, but at the front, there's a set of play.
She's the first one who falls. That's very unfortunate for Navi PH. They might have to disengage and not commit to this fight any further. Now, the rest of the members of Gaimin Gladiators, they just walk back to the Lord. They know that this is for sure gonna go into their hands.
Yup, indeed. Gaimin Gladiators securing this Lord in our 14-minute game time. Now Mirai is forced to actually build this immortality. You have the radiant armor for Amor. Not really sure if they're able to sustain some of the damages from Gaimin Gladiator, and you also have the Blood Wings. So we have the Lord marching in at the top lane. Again, Gaimin Gladiators just putting a lot of pressure in all the lanes. A lot of divers also. Navi PH, they need to defend this one out. They need those skills to actually hit and secure a kill against GG.
Oh, they tried to commit Arya, but she's too tanky. Shinoa, heavy crossbow out of the AOG. There's the counter fury of the Phoenix committed also by Navi, but there's also the Lord that they have to take care of. And it seems like the train are just about to come in, because look at Nicolette trying to take out every single member, but the energy eruption denies her of that. But still, Panda 1 is alive, and this might just be it for GG. They get to secure game number 1 with a clean wipeout and a triple kill.
Oh wow, Gaimin Gladiators winning against Navi PH in a very dominating fashion. In all honesty, I am speechless and beyond mesmerized with their plays. I mean, Nicolette has been playing really well. Not just Nicolette, every player from GG played really well from the initiation, from the early game, from all the skirmishes that they had, winning majority of the team fights. They know when to start a team fight, and they know when to disengage in a team fight.
That felt like GG weren't the least bit nervous about going up against the lineup of the former defending champions. But let's see what our panelists have to say. Let's throw it back to our panelists.
Absolutely dominating performance by Gaimin Gladiators. Hell yeah, confident I feel like is the least thing you can say about that. There are more words that you can say, but just similar to Chantal, I am out of words. They were that damn good.
Even I was a part of someone who was so surprised. And looking at their reactions, you could definitely see some little celebratory dances and claps around there. And definitely for Gaimin Gladiators, they did a fantastic job onto the draft. And the execution itself and the map is so beautifully made.
But they need to chill, right? They need to chill. Navi PH are not anything if not even more dangerous when their backs are up against the wall, right? They will download this blueprint and they will utilize this to come back in the second game. But again, I do agree. I have to share the sentiment. I don't think this is something that we really expected, that triple kill to really close things out. You are feeling that momentum from that previous match to this match. And a lot of highlights, I would say, right? I think, Renmar, you were the one that mentioned that the Gatot Kacha for Ashley, that opened up a lot of avenues. And I really do believe that this all started with the drafts.
Yep, we discussed it. We wanted more damage from the side of Navi Philippines, and it seems like they overloaded a little bit too much on the crowd control and utility aspect of what their lineup can bring to the table. While Gaimin Gladiators, yes, we think about Gatot Kacha as a huge setup roamer, can frontline, strong crowd control, but the Gatot Kacha deals a lot of damage from minute 1 all the way to the end of the game. He scales very well with the amount of health he has available for him.
Yeah, plus the addition of the IMU by Sayuri, just constantly copying the Fear of the Phoenix, plus the layer of the vengeance here for Arya. That was just beautiful massacre in my opinion here for Gaimin Gladiators. Like literally all from minute 1 up until the very end, we could definitely see any windows here for Navi Page was close, right? And even here the great performance for Panda, just totally annihilating the goal lane, especially onto the ending triple kill for their game.
And to top things off, right, they did a really great job at shutting down Not Ayanami. I think even coming before this match, a lot of people have highlighted the fact that Navi PH work on a tempo that usually Not Ayanami sets. So when she gets shut down from the early game, when she is unable to surpass the front line from the opponent, get to what she wants, that's when you see the entire tempo and the decision-making kind of crumble, surprisingly, for Navi PH.
Very obvious here is the link up between Arya and Ashley. They alternated their moments of, okay, which one of us is going to be frontlining? Most of the time, it's actually Arya on that CC. Where if you are a CC and you see 2 members of the opposing team sticking side by side, you're going to right away throw that curtain call, which makes it even easier for the Gatot Kacha to go in with an AOG that will almost always secure 2 kills already for Gaimin Gladiators.
And a very good layer there for the Fury of Phoenix, right? Remember, after they're being chased down, Navi PH is trying to run for their lives, but then there's the crowd control, and the damage just isn't there. We've mentioned that even though I predicted that Zetian will be a perfect mid laner here for Navi PH, but on the other hand, it wouldn't be so effective if all your side lanes will be shut down at the same time, right? For not Ayanami, she didn't serve well, and that is very important, being one of the pillars, right? You need to serve your teammates well just so they could finally have that freedom to farm up. And Keishi with the utility jungler, as we all know, you have to be very aggressive. You have to take the early game, even the turtles, but that didn't happen. So the essence of a utility jungler just isn't there yet.
I agree. Because the thing is, if you have a utility in the jungle, you can afford having some damage in the mid lane, right? Which is why we were thinking about heroes like the Kimi. Okay, the Kimi was banned out. But the Farsa, that was left open. Granted, it could have been tricky. Maybe that's why they went for the Zetian, because they saw the Gata Tacha on the other side. So I think even from the drafts, it was just really brilliantly executed by GG from the first phases.
So I think we have to reframe our thoughts here just a little bit, wherein it's not more of asking Navi PH, why didn't you get damage in the mid lane? Let's veer it off and focus more onto Gaimin Gladiators. They just drafted it to the point where Navi PH couldn't afford to put someone with more damage in the mid lane. They needed something with a little bit more utility to survive all the aggression that the lineup of Gaimin could bring to the table. So it feels like they were stuck with a Zetian at that point.
Yeah, and also with the Valentina pick, that was beautifully executed here for Sayuri as well. And so far onto the draft, we could definitely see the plan there. And riding the high from your previous game, of course, with that kind of masterful, complicated, but at the same time, some may say that that isn't the meta, but they are not scared to experiment and stick to what their blueprint is, which is to totally shut down Navi PH as early as possible.
All right, very quick, Eterna, I have a little bit of a surprise for you. You'll get your chance here to preach the good word of Ashley, because we're going to be focusing on the roam for our head-to-head. So, Eterna, please.
Man, Ashley, let's take a look at the head-to-head, and let's take a look. Whoa, average KDA 13 on the Gatot Kacha. That's kind of crazy, guys.
It's really crazy.
Yeah, and definitely it really reflected just Ash slaying all the members here for Navi PH. Even Mirai wasn't able to do much with her Guinevere pick, right?
I think it's also important to highlight that percent KP, right? 93%.
Sheesh.
So everything that you mentioned earlier on, Athena, with the layering of skills coming in from Sayori as well as the Gatot Kacha, just is exuberated by the fact that she has a 93% KP, which means that she was involved in several of the skirmishes, and she was the one to mediate and facilitate all these crazy plays for everyone else on the team.
Yeah, and you can see here the one who suffered the most on the side of Navi PH is actually Keishi, their jungler, getting the highest damage taken per minute at around getting close to 8,000, while Panda, of course, was just completely fine, farming up, getting the resources, getting the kills when she needed. So Gaimin went here, obviously, with a very clear game plan. They got a comfort for Ashley. Everyone just looked perfectly in sync with one another.
And that's what I loved about it, right? Because it's killing two birds with one stone. If we're talking about comfort, we also saw that, of course, Nicolette was able to get her comfort hero in the Lancelot, and also the age-old...
Yeah?
Okay, also the age-old counter picks between the Fredrin and the Lancelot, because when the Fredrin started to get more popular in the meta, people were thinking, all right, how do we counter this Fredrin in the jungle? How do we find a little bit more utility to work with? Because it was a answer to the Joy back in the day, and one of that was the Lancelot, right? So the Lancelot comes through, it's a comfort pick as well. And in terms of damage taken onto the Fredrin, I do believe that it's also an intelligent pick coming in from Sayori with her itemization, where she picked up the Wishing Lantern, noting that she would do most of the damage to the front lines instead of the back line heroes.
Yeah, and so now I have to go back a little bit to what Navi eventually picked up in the roam, because they had to swerve the Arlot into the EXP lane, and then they put the Guinevere in the roam. It felt like, was that the choice you would have gone for? What do you just feel overall about the Guinevere roam?
To be honest, that was a bit of an overkill onto the crowd control. You already have the Zetian, right? And then there was some kind of a question before we show it over to our casters, like, is there room to flex But of course, they really flex it onto the roam and then transfer the Arlet overall onto Not Ayanami. But the problem with that is, yes, you have so many crowd controls, you have so many uses for what to hold back onto Gaimin Gladiators. But the burst, where is the burst, right? Even with the proper items for Azetian, I really do think it's lacking, especially you already had the utility jungler, right, with the Fredrine. And so far, Shinoa really had a hard time because her lane was shutted too early. So for Navi PH, I really do think they really have to rethink their strategies. Even more so, if there's a Get Kasha, I should... Anyway, Get Kasha will be a win for game number 2. But so far, if ever it wasn't banned out before I spoke that, even a Farsa, even though it would have a hard time, but at least it would have this fighting chance if ever onto the mid lane for game number 1. But that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So here we are now, the game number 2 draft. Again, the defending champions are now one game loss away from being eliminated from this year's MWI, with Gaimin Gladiators, the hope of North America, one win away from advancing into the semi-final stage. Hayabusa getting taken away so that Nicolette won't have one of her best assassin options available for her, while Gaimin Gladiators leaning a little bit more towards just taking out the best picks in the meta that we have. 1-1 gets taken out. Baksha might be the setup here for Navi for their first pick, if ever it's available for them.
That's the struggle of working on red side, right? You have to go for the priority bans. You can't really swerve into the comfort or the respect bans towards your opponents, which is something that Navi is definitely capitalizing over here in game number 2. We're looking at the Kalea that was banned out in the first game, whether or not she's going to be left open as well. I think it's an option that they can ban out here, considering that they have found a lot of success on the Kalea. But is that a CC last ban for GG?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Okay, so it seems like Gaimin Gladiators are telling Navi, like, hey, if you thought about first picking the CC like we did, we're not going to give it to you. Or they're already thinking ahead that CC could have gone into blue 3. So that Gaimin decided to take it out. I think we'll see by the first 2 picks as to why specifically the CC was banned by Gaimin Gladiators. But as we mentioned earlier, Baksha available for the first pick for Navi?
Yeah, actually they could go for a first pick Baksha, but remember there are certain heroes open, such as the Kalea, even the Phobius here for GG. But also on the other hand, they could just pick up somewhat of a shredder here, if ever. Just limit on to watch, you know, what could actually get, or even not Ayanami again.
Yeah, it's really good flex coming through from Navi, right? So they can always flex it into the jungle, they can flex it into the roam position.
Wow, shredders.
Wow, okay. Like you mentioned, right? The Granger gets picked up very early here by GG, and the Lancelot. So, are they trying to bait another Irritel pick? I think that was one of my initial highlights as well, because naturally you would think that the Irritel would do a little bit better. I know Renmar mentioned it being a little bit 50-50, but the fact that the Irritel is still a lot more mobile, sometimes those skill shots that the Granger has doesn't land.
Yeah.
But it turns out the Irritel had a struggle, right? Shinoa struggled in that lane, but the Irritel still does come through once again. I think they're a little bit more confident, but here's the kicker. Here comes the Angela.
It's Angela, Baksha together, and even the Irithel can benefit from the hard guard of the Angela. So Navi, a strong combo first 3 picks, but Gaimin Gladiators instantly showing their course at the beginning of their draft with the Granger and Lancelot. What could they close it up here in the first phase with?
Before all that, for Navi PH, they're like, Irritel, yes, but there's a but, right? Here with the Angela pick. But for me, for GG, they're going to head on onto a strong side lane, as we mentioned. They just need to somehow not level up, but to surpass what not Ayanami can do. Just totally outmaneuver them onto the early phases of the game, which what happened onto the early game for game number 1, right? Remember, onto the Little Wanderer, they were circling around. We thought Navi PH got it in the bag, and then there was a sudden turn of momentum wherein Sayori got a very nice kick, a very nice Serify onto 2 members, and that was it for Navi PH. And for Navi PH right now, I'm leaning more on a setter type of hero here for not Ayanami, just so they could layer properly and give Shinoa Lair the proper avenue to just go for the free hits. She already has the hard guard, right? So you just need another layer of crowd control just so she would feel much more safer onto her lane.
On top of that, they also need a tool to shut down the Lancelot. Right? Because with them committing with the Angela in the row means that they're lacking tools to really single target lock down this Lancelot. So that's why I think the Kalea ban here is brilliant. I'm looking at other heroes that could potentially stop the Lancelot, maybe the Cho or even like the Kufra, something of that sort. But I'm in a little bit of a conundrum here.
Okay, what's the conundrum?
Got him lined up in
Because
my sight.
now,
is banning.
if the Esmeralda stays in the EXP lane, which it should stay in the EXP lane,
Yeah.
what happens if the Baxia gets flexed into the EXP lane instead?
Well, yeah. I think Navi might not have the room for that. Laning-wise, that will make the Esmeralda struggle somewhat. However, it's like if Navi decides to do that, they might be overthinking the EXP a little bit too much. So yeah, if it goes into the EXP, the Esmeralda might have a difficult time. You shut that down. But then you take away a very powerful combo in terms of applying pressure all across the map in the Angela and Baxia together.
Yeah.
Here's another possibility. What if this Angela isn't going roam? What if this Angela's actually going in the mid? And then the roam, as you mentioned, you were looking for lockdown earlier, will come through that. They take away the Badang, so we might still not be seeing the roam pick up for Navi. While for Gaimin Gladiators, let's look at them a little bit more. They still need their roamer and their mid laner.
Mandate. Your legacy
But I do love the respect though with the Hylos being banned out as well here.
Yeah.
Against GG. But you mentioned, right, there is a certain flex for an Angela to be on the mid lane. But I do believe this should be in the roam just so they could have that extra burst here for Amor. And Amor is really good with artillery mages, right? And I wouldn't want to waste some of those hard-earned mechanical skills onto a very important match. Remember, they're only one lose away from totally exiting MWI. So you would want a more powerful, impactful hero onto mid.
If you want impact in the mid, whoa, Angela Yuzong, come on, pick up a Jawhead. Just go pure damage right now. Put a Jawhead in the roam, put that Angela in mid, put your Yuzong in the XP, and then Baxia in the jungle. If you want impact, that is a possibility, that they're just gonna put this Angela in the roam and then even more magic damage in mid. Oh, come on, give me something. Oh, Grok!
Okay.
A Grok! Is that a debut for MWI? I believe it is.
I haven't seen a Grok.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, not just here. In a very long time, I also haven't seen a Grok.
Yeah, even in other regions.
We saw it in the wild cards, I think.
Okay.
Wildcards, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
In
in
terms
MSC.
of the MWI, I believe this is the first stream A so far. And I do believe that they're going to go up against a very risky play here for Navi PH.
Yeah.
In my opinion, though, they should have just stuck with the Rome Angela first. But let's see. Hey, that's a usual here for not INM.
Yeah, Yuzong versus Esmeralda in lane. Been quite some time. Spell Vamp. Oh, we're gonna have to get a really close look at the
Minotaur.
EXP lane mashup, definitely. Minotaur is the last pick for Gaimin Gladiators. Considering how unique the lineup of Navi is right now, I am leaning a little bit more towards Gaimin Gladiators with the good balance of safety, utility, good sources of the damage, and it looks good for GG. Don't have a lot of time right now to talk to the rest of our panel. We will talk about it more, but now we have to toss you on over to the mother and daughter of all series, Chantel and Brigida, to potentially close out this series.
Thank you so much to our panelists. And right now, it's gonna be a test of endurance and mental fortitude. Of course, Navi PH on the brink of being eliminated in MWI 2025, and Gaimin Gladiators so close into bringing that North American dream of securing their journey in this league. Here we go. A lot of folks early game. Brigida, honestly, how do you feel about this hero composition for both teams?
For Navi PH, I'm gonna start off with this lineup. I'm feeling really excited. I know it's not the common mid-duo we see nowadays in terms of the meta, but I feel like it can apply so much pressure. It can allow and support so much of their teammates in whatever they want to do. And unlike earlier, I'm hoping that it doesn't have so much conditions for it to work, because earlier clearly it was different. There wasn't that great of a distribution in terms of damage. It was mostly on crowd control, as mentioned on our panel, but now this is clearly different. Hopefully this is different for them, but not Gaimin Gladiators too. You're so close to seeing them actually get there, as you mentioned, to that, making that dream come true.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think for Navi PH, this is just more in the comfort heroes. If I'm not mistaken, Mirai has been using Grok for a very long time.
Yep.
Even during the MWI qualifiers from last year. So, yep, it's a comfort versus a team that is more on the aggressive side now. But if we look at the emblem sets for Gaimin Gladiators, they just really want to burst majority of the heroes from Navi PH. You have the emblem, you have the support emblem also, or talent for the Esmeralda. And I think, I don't know if you would agree with me, but Arya's hero is going to be the X factor here for GG, because it is meant to actually counter out the Angela, which is supposed to be the X factor for Navi PH.
Yep. But the thing is, it feels like even though there is that passive and all that, the possibility of the shields being taken up by Gaimin Gladiators through Arya, it doesn't change the fact that Navi PH, they're frontliners, they're just too tanky. So you have to ask and you have to see who among Gaimin Gladiators would be assigned to potentially being able to supply the necessary damage to deal with those frontliners, because if not, then this is a much more freer game for Shinoa. And speaking of, it seems like Navi PH might be starting things right now. There's the hard guard in the Black Dragon form, and they might just be able to find their first target. We're talking about Arya, and she's now very low, but she actually escapes thanks to that Purify.
Yep, and we can see right now that for Nicolette, she's actually seen by Shinoa and about 2 players more from Navi PH at the top lane, able to survive. So that was a nice escape for Nicolette. And I think was she able to get to that purple buff of KG?
Yep, she was.
That is mission accomplished
Yes.
for Nicolette during that time. So it's just her limiting the resources of Keishi, and you don't really want that to happen against Ibaksha. But things are looking good still for Navi PH. They have the control in terms of that because they control the river side. They know where Nicolette is. So Navi PH, as long as they're able to continue this type of information that they have, then it's going to be good for them.
And it will be good for them if they take out Arya, and that finally happens for Navi PH. It's first blood for them. I feel like this is one of the crucial players you need to deal with in the early game, and they do just that. So this might drastically change the outcome of this game if Navi are able to maintain this tempo.
Yep, so true, because I remembered when I said that Keishi doesn't really want those resources being taken by Gaimin Gladiators, and I looked at the hero. She doesn't really need those items, but so far, yep, Navi PH is still continuing on that aggression. There's a trade this time around, or Navi PH was able to replicate that steal for the buff. So for this game, it feels like for Navi PH, they kinda knew what to do against the Gaimin Gladiators. But in 10 seconds, we have another objective. By the way, Shinoa has the task. Also expect later on that we might see a 4-1 setup, probably 5-man setup for Navi PH.
Phantom execution already committed, but Nicolette, she might just put herself in danger. Forced to go away, Ashley defending the rest of her teammates. But this is some pretty great space created for Keishi. It seems like they can just immediately decide to take down this objective for themselves.
Yep, and we can see right now for Navi PH, they will secure this turtle. And now it makes sense as to why Navi PH got the Grok. So because of the Grok, because of the passive also, she is not taken by those crowd controls. So we could see them, you're not hitting anyone from Navi PH.
But the wild charge! It still lands onto Nicolette, the Fury of the Phoenix, to just somehow help Nicolette get out of danger. But now we're seeing the complete opposite. It's Navi PH who's more confident to start things up.
And it's probably because of the mobility also of the heroes. You have the Baksha for Keishi, a lot of vision for them. And at some parts of the game, even if Amora is up the middle lane, she is able to go in a team fight because of the hard guard. So it's all about the movement speed but it's not much of a lead for Navi PH. They just have to continue on forcing initiations from against Gaimin Gladiators. So there is Turret Destroy at the top lane, and we have the wall. Sayor is forced to use the flicker, and even not Ayanami is being taken down at the bottom lane.
Oh, it seems like there are trades happening all over the map. Not Ayanami was taken down earlier in the bottom lane, as you mentioned. But Navi PH, it seems like they weren't successful in getting that trade onto Ashley. So Gaimin Gladiators are able to equalize, at least in terms of the skill score for now. But it doesn't change the fact, the lead, the slight gold lead, it's still in Navi PH's hands.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel like for Gaimin Gladiators, they know how to do their trades because of their efforts to actually destroy a turret at the bottom lane. So Navi PH right now, they are somehow taking things slow because we somehow saw an aggression for them, but at the same time, they know the potential of the enemy team. So Mirai is up front of 3 players of Gaimin Gladiators, but Arya has been shown around the map. So there's been a lot of folks at the bottom lane, but no one is forcing an unnecessary initiation. So it's more of the discipline that is being shown by both teams. But we see 2 players from Navi PH starting this turtle.
Oh, GG, they're still gonna go for it. But Keiichi secures the turtle nonetheless. Black Dragon form is still on, and they are gonna go for Arya. But before they even get to take down Arya, surprisingly, Panda 1 gets executed as well in the other parts of the map. And they might try to go for converting into other structures for now. But this is a surprise. All over the map, Navi PH, it seems like they have a clear picture of how they're dominating this already.
And they're still continuing the aggression here at the purple pit. So we have Nicolette being taken down, but by not Ayanami and even Ashley. So I think the middle turret could be taken down also by Navi PH. Gaimin Gladiators is just somehow confused on how to counter-engage against Navi.
Yeah, this is clearly Navi PH knowing fully well that they have no reason to hold back. If you would look at that instant replay, this was just a few seconds after they got 2 kills, right? So they literally do not want Nicolette to perform the same way that she did earlier, and they're doing a great job at that. Nicolette right now is behind in terms of Keiichi, even if it's just 1 level. This is a Lancelot we're talking about.
Yep, well, we really have to commend also the wild charge from Mirai. I think that millisecond of crowd control has been dealing a lot of, let's say, casualties against Gaimin Gladiators. And if we look at the gold lead, it is definitely Shinoa on the upper hand as compared to Panda 1. Hence that solo kill earlier at the bottom lane. So this is detrimental for Gaimin Gladiators. Also that the middle lane has been destroyed already because, Nicolette is being stopped in terms of the usual rotation that she does with the Lancelot.
And GG are yet to have their anti-heal. So the problem in terms of sustain for Navi PH, they still don't have a clear way to deal with it. Even though there is some damage from Panda 1 and Nicolette already, you need the anti-heal, you know? It's a Baksha and a Grok and the usual.
Yeah. And given also the Baksha, it has that innate, right? That Taurus Bussans. And look at the damage from Shinoa. So she forced Ashley actually to use that flicker, which is needed for that surprise one series. Now we see Navi PH securing this Lord and 5.7k gold lead from the Filipino representatives. So even top lane could be destroyed anytime soon. Nicolette putting all efforts just to clear the minion wave, but there's another minion wave at the top lane.
Yeah, there are a lot more minion waves that they have to take care of. The Heart Guard is being hovered on Shinoa, but they're most likely gonna be careful about this. They have a Lord that's gonna march down bottom. They want to, for sure, keep themselves alive, right? Like, they want to accompany this Lord in their attempt to make the most out of it and take away at least an inhibitor turret for Gaimin Gladiators if they can.
Yeah, just to be able to capitalize on this. But knowing that this is the current situation of the game, it is 10 minutes, yes, but for Gaimin Gladiators, they have the kit, they have a scaling hero, they just need to, as much as possible, defend this Lord. if they can. So, Gaimin Gladiators, they are able to defend this Lord. We have the effort. We see the efforts of Nicolette at the middle lane just to cut the minion wave. So it means that the second tier turret at the middle lane will still be defended by GG. So nice efforts for her, but at the bottom lane, there's another layer of pressure coming in from Navi PH.
And it's indeed an inhibitor turret that they're after. Falling Storm committed by Aria, followed up by the Minoan Fury. But will the damage be enough? Because there's the wild charge, and there's the dive coming in from Ayanami. They immediately pick off Ashley and take that inhibitor turret. Nicolette, though, Thorngroves is committed. Gets to dash away. Phantom Execution to escape. Oh my goodness.
6-1 for Navi PH, destroying the turret at the bottom lane and even probably securing this turret at the middle lane. Sayori, almost low on life. We have the players from the Philippines trying to somehow limit or take all resources against GG. So I think, it is really evident that for Nicolette, it is really hard to play up against a team that is more on the tanky side. Just imagine, this is up against the usual, up against the Baksha, and you also have the Angela. I mean, if they get enough items for Panda 1 or even have those stacks with the Sky Piercer, then they can. But the struggle here is that they can't even have a kill right now against Navi PH, merely because of the idea that you have Mirai up front, even Baksha with a hard guard. And I think it would take some time for them to just have those items.
And it seems like time is very important for Navi PH because they also have the fleeting time. So imagine just how many heart guards we can potentially see from Navi PH if they're always able to get pickoffs together with the help of the heart guard. So this is going to be tough for Gaimin Gladiators. They have to keep themselves alive. They have to look for the damage. And they have to time their skills, their ultimates really well because we saw the intention, we saw the idea earlier. The Falling Storm and the Minoan Fury, it doesn't sound like a bad idea, but it has to be paired up with the right amount of damage.
So it's now, it's all about the timing now for Gaimin Gladiators, for the layer of the damage to be efficient against Navi PH. We saw 2 items being taken here by 2 players of Gaimin Gladiators. We have the Sea Halberd for Panda 1 and another defensive item for Ashley. So we could see a little lore dance on this game. 30 minutes per game. There is going to be a reset. Keisha is just finding the players of Gaimin Gladiators. I'm not sure if Nicolette has been revealed at the middle lane.
Not yet.
But I think this is it.
Finally gets revealed, and Shinoa is the first target for Gaimin Gladiators. The hard guard is used onto Mirai. Is this the right decision? But not Ayanami nonetheless. Gets to take down Panda 1. But still Nicolette is alive and well. This might just be an advantage for GG as they also find a way to target Keishi. Amor, left alone, has the flicker with the Phantom Execution in the third rose!
You have 3 players down in Navi PH and Gaimin Gladiators starting this Lord. You only have Mirai and not Ayanami to try and reset. They have the wall, yes, but is it enough to actually delay the potential secure of the objective? Not Ayanami is shut down by the hands of Arya and even Mirai, the only player left because Shinoa just has been respawned and Gaimin Gladiators secure the Lord.
What a win for GG! Just as we thought Navi PH, they were at the clear advantage, just as we thought Gaimin Gladiators had so much to worry about in order to win a single team fight against Navi.
I mean, I think it all started when they were able to take down Shinoa in the middle of the team fight, and the rest was just history for Gaimin Gladiators. Lord will march in at the bottom lane. This is now the time for them for those spike in terms of damage. Even Panda 1 is already at level 15 and it comes to a point that we reach game equilibrium. Now for Gaimin Gladiators, they are now able to equalize the situation of the game. They need to capitalize on this anytime soon. There might be a dive from GG.
This feels like a different Nicolette now. This doesn't feel like the Nicolette who was constantly being invaded a few minutes ago. Navi PH have to deal with the Lord first before they actually do anything. But Nicolette seems like she wants to keep the pressure going. Damages Keishi every now and then. But it's a successful defense for now from Navi PH.
May I remind you that for Gaimin Gladiators, This is their second match for today. They went up against Navi MY during match 1, and they're playing up against another Navi team, this time around from the Philippines. So they are currently at 900, almost 1,000k, or 1,000k, 1,000 gold lead. Look at Keishi!
Oh no, the Fury of the Phoenix nearly caught up to Keishi, but now Shinoa is there's a bit of the hard card for the middle, and Fury into the Phantom Execution takes her down, and Panda 1 gets the last hit. Another crucial pick on the damage dealer of Navi PH, but not Ayanami. Will she be successful in this attempt? It's a no!
Oh my goodness! 2 players down on this side of Navi PH. What a way to use that wing chant. Panda 1 is on fire. Somebody has to stop Panda 1, but the turn of the top lane has been destroyed. Gaimin Gladiators almost there in trying to stop Navi PH on defending the crown.
And this might just be it.
They're just waiting for another minion wave though.
They're just waiting. They're just counting down. Shinoa all alone. Will she be able to deal with the 2 minion waves that are marching towards their base? There goes that crossbow, but she gets immediately bursted down.